I've been thinking a lot lately. I dropped several Canon R5C videos since it was announced about a month ago. And recently, with the retirement of Craig from Canon Rumors, who couldn't handle the fire, I really got to thinking about the toxicity in the photography community and with photographers in general. And there are a couple of points that I want to discuss today in photography philosophy with you guys because I've spent a long time thinking about this, and I will address the title of this video towards the end of the video, but I want to start with Craig. Now, Craig, in his final post on Canon Rumors, had made it very clear that it was the toxicity of YouTube personalities such as myself, as well as threats against his family and his kids, as well as all the different kind of toxicity that comes with being an internet personality. And a lot of the complaints he was discussing are something that I experienced in the comment sections of my own videos, specifically the R5C ones, and I want to talk a little bit about that fanboyism. Now, I haven't released the video yet where I talk about why Fuji is the only digital camera maker who does it right, and I will release that video here in the near future. But the reality is there's not really a point to fanboyism because no one uses Fuji, and Fuji's really the only one doing it right. And I'll give you a little premise behind that, and the fact is Fuji offers you a wide variety of different film grades that you can use with their cameras, which is why they suck for Photoshop and why they suck for using in RAW, but they got that right. We need to stop looking at cameras by manufacturer, and we need to start looking at cameras based on their functionality, their ergonomics, and most importantly for us photographers, their color theory, their color science. Color science. We all know Canon color. That's a well-known fact. We know that Sony has the most accurate colors. Accurate does not mean beautiful, but they have the most accurate colors. Nikon's more of an earthy color, but then you have Fuji. Like, Fuji's come out of nowhere with, I guess it's not nowhere, I guess we just all ignore Fuji, but Fuji has the ability to replicate their film with their camera. And that's pretty cool, and that's probably the only reason that I think that they're the only ones that have ever done it right, and why I pick on them so much. But that rabid fanboyism is what I want to talk about. I was attacked a lot about the R5C. Now, I don't take attacks personally. There's nothing that you folks on the internet could tell me that my dad hadn't already told me. So the fact of the matter is I don't take it personally. And a lot of the argument with the R5C was coming from the fact that I was comparing it to a hybrid camera. So I do want to make some corrections about the R5C in this video. It is not a hybrid camera, it is a cinema camera. It is a cinema camera that is being marketed incorrectly, which is the whole point I was making in my R5C videos, but apparently I did not explain it well enough for everyone to understand. Now, I am willing to own up to the fact that it is a cinema camera, and as a cinema camera, it doesn't need IBIS, it doesn't need all those things that I was complaining about. But it's being marketed as a hybrid. And everyone is saying, well, it's a hybrid because it can take photos. And that's like saying the R5 is a hybrid because it can take video. Does it do it well? Is it practical? No. Really what it is you need an R5C for video, you need an R5 for photos. That doesn't make them hybrid cameras. But those attacks that I got for making those statements, that anger, that resentment from so many people, the being accused of being a shrill for Sony. Sony doesn't pay me, by the way, and if you watched my videos on Sony, you know that I only picked Sony because it fit in my hand, and I liked the autofocus better. I made that extremely clear. I've never been a shrill for Sonys. I've never said that they are the greatest digital camera on the market. But that rabid response of, if you attack my gear, you are attacking me personally, I have to agree with Craig completely on that. And that leads me to my next one. And generally, older photographers. Now, I was hanging out on the Nikon forum the other day because I still love my Nikons. It's still one of my favorite manufacturers, specifically their DSLRs. In reality, I would have never bought a mirrorless if it wasn't for the channel. I would have stuck with the DSLRs. I probably would have got a D850. But I was hanging out on there, and someone had brought up on that forum the term chimp, or chimping. And it's a term I had not heard for a very, very long time, and they were trying to bring it back. And essentially what it means is that it was a term that film photographers would call digital photographers in the early days of digital, who would look at the photos on the back of their camera. That is a whole different type of fanboyism. That is a whole different type of toxicity and gatekeeping in the community. It still relates to what Craig said in his very last post. It's that gatekeeping. I have a photographer local to me. We're just going to call him Jim Conson. And Jim Conson has a very particular style of photography. In fact, every time I say Rembrandt photographer, I'm generally referencing Jim. Now, the issue with Jim is Jim's photos look very good. They're very beautiful. They are technically perfect, but they're boring. They're not exciting. There's nothing new to them. Every single set he posts looks exactly the same as the last set down to the costume, with the only exception being a different and new model. But if you post something different, such as this photo right here, or if I were to post this photo right here, both of these photos were actually attacked by Jim on public discourse for not being technically perfect to the way he takes photos. I have been called out for using the rear LCD on my camera over using the viewfinder for live feed. And again, I do that because I wear the GoPro and I want you guys to see exactly how I compose my photos when you're watching my videos. But that's what I'm saying, is that fanboyism. It's I'm the only one that does it right, and anyone who does it differently than me is incorrect. And that breeds a sort of toxicity that can push new photographers out of the community, and they might be doing that intentionally. This is something I want you to think about. Most photography, most areas are saturated with photographers. There's always more photographers than there are clients, and you're competing for those. So if you gatekeep out the newbies, the people just getting into it, I guess there's less competition. I don't know if that is a strategy they're actually using, or if they actually just want you to take photos the way they did to justify the way they do their photography. I don't know the real reasons, but that is one of my running theories, especially in this area, because this area is extremely saturated with photographers. And it's that toxicity that I see on the forums, I see in YouTube comment sections, I see with everyone involved with photography. And it's not everyone, but everyone has some sort of play in this. I am just as guilty as that. I opened up my R5C review the day that it was released with Canon fanboys. That was obviously an attack. That was obviously there to stir up a response. But the fact that I'm able to stir up that response, the fact that I'm able to rile up a group of individuals with a simple phrase as fanboy, and then them go and prove the point that I was making. What does that say about the photography community as a whole? What does that say to someone who's on the outside looking in? Craig had enough of it. Craig couldn't handle the fire anymore. He's been doing this far longer than I have, and finally it got to him. Now, he may be right. It may have been attacks on his friends and family. But reading through the screenshots of his Twitter responses and seeing the responses he made that were captured on those screenshots before he deleted them, he's just as guilty as the rest of us. So I guess I should address the title. Is this my last YouTube video? And I can tell you, honestly, no. I enjoy doing this too much. I didn't make the Canon R5C videos because I thought they were going to get a bunch of views, and I thought that they were going to skyrocket my channel, as I have been accused of doing. If I wanted to do that, I would pump out Nikon D5100 videos every single week, because those videos perform wonderfully on my channel. Now, I released that because the fact of the matter is the R5C isn't a very good hybrid camera. It's a decent cinema camera. It's a great budget cinema camera, but it's being marketed wrong. And it's that incorrect marketing from manufacturers, whether it's Canon, whether it's Sony, whether it's Nikon, whether it's Fuji, even though Fuji is perfect. All hail Fuji. The fact is we're all guilty of this. We're all guilty of making the photography community more toxic. So this may not be my last YouTube video overall, but this is going to be the last YouTube video where I stir up that controversy, where I stir up that fanboyism and that rabbitism. I'm going to approach everything from now on more neutral, less inflammatory, because that is something I was accused of doing several times, and apparently I was walking on eggshells because I didn't feel like it was all that inflammatory. But that also means my comment sections. I'm not going to respond to comments where people open it up with an attack, open it up with an insult. I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of thinking you triggered me, because there is no context in comments. So this is going to be the last video where I also talk about this toxicity. It'll be the last video where I discuss the toxic environment of the photography community. Instead, I'm gonna focus on photography, I'm gonna focus on cameras, and I'm gonna focus on gear reviews. And I'm gonna continue making budget-friendly YouTube videos that explain to you how you can take amazing photos on a great budget, exactly what this channel was started for. And I guess I'll just wrap it up with, if you want a good hybrid camera, don't buy an R5C. That's all I got for you guys today. I'll catch you all on the flip side. Bye.